Hello everybody, my name is Yuki the Geekimist and welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of my review of Digimon the movie. Now last time around we talked about the 4Kids slash Saban Entertainment version of Digimon the movie, which was 3 Digimon movies wrapped into one project dubbed by the original Saban Entertainment, who did Digimon Adventures 1 and 2. Now we're covering Digimon the movie. This is a new collection that came out last year in December, and it's the 3 Digimon movies actually separated into their full parts, and more importantly, is basically more accurate to the actual thing, but actually having the Saban Entertainment voice actors returning to reprise their iconic roles. And it's a very interesting little collection. It's interesting to see how different these movies are being dubbed more accurately. And on top of that, it's very interesting just to see how different these movies really are compared to how we know them from Digimon the movie growing up. So it should be interesting to talk about these, and I'm excited to bring you guys on this small journey of just seeing how different these are. And ironically enough, I'm going to mention the iconic Digimon soundtrack is not here. It's gone. The Digimon Digital Monsters soundtrack from the movie is gone. The music from all the iconic songs they made, like iconic songs just for the movie, and the ones they license out, are completely cut out of this movie, well, because they weren't in the original Japanese version. It makes a lot of sense that they're not here, so I can't blame them for not bringing them along. And honestly, I think the movie's better for it. So we're going to start talking about this. This is my review of Digimon the movies that went into Digimon the movie. So the first movie in this collection is Digimon the movie. Now, this is what is considered more a prequel movie to the original series versus a prequel movie to everything else that takes place in these other movies. Basically, this takes prior to the original Digimon series and features Tai and Kari. Tai is one of the original 7 Digidestined who go to the digital world at the beginning of the first Digimon series, and Kari is the 8th Digidestined who's joined later on in the series and joins them when they return to the digital world during the original series. And, of course, you need to remember that Tai's iconic Digimon he has is Agumon. So it's interesting to see that of all eggs that come through the computer, it ends up being eventually the Agumon line that ends up in the real world. Now, one thing that's interesting, this movie starts out slightly different. It's not actually this time being actually told the story is not by Kari. Kari actually does not talk to us about any of these movies. Kari is not the overall narrator of the entire movie like she was with the original Digimon movie. It's very different, and I kind of like it. Don't get me wrong, Kari's an okay character, but her voice actor talked way too much in that first movie, and it kind of took you out of the mood at times. And that's the thing is, this movie is really good for what it does. Now, the movie starts out, of course, with a Digi-Egg coming out of... No, Tai comes into the room, and one thing that's interesting is that Tai's father actually shows up in the movie. Like, every other time that we see Tai's father is one time during the original run, and then we don't see him for a very long time. This time around, they acknowledge that Tai's father exists, and actually Tai thinks it's his father on the computer when he comes in the room and sees it's Kari there. And of course, a Digimon egg comes through the computer. Everything else after this kind of stays relatively the same. The Digimon movie at part 1 and this kind of don't change a whole lot other than slight details that are different. Such as when the Digi-Egg drops out of Kari's lap after she grabs juice, instead of it, rolling straight to the bedroom, there's an exciting egg scene that was cut out of the movie that you missed. How dare you miss it? And another small thing is when Batomon is underneath the bed after it's hatched, it's no longer doing the Digimon theme song, but just generically making noise and making what I guess a Batomon sounds like. There's no Digimon scene like it was in the original. They still, Kari and Botamon do bond through this through the whistle, but it's not like it was in the original movie, or the movie that we know. Of course, one thing that should be noted is a lot of the slapsticky music that was added in, such as like the chase music that plays while Koromon is being attacked by their cat in the first movie. It isn't here. It's just generic chase music, and it's kind of, more. It is more fun, but it's not this iconic, like, like ironically weird license music where it's not needed in the movie. I really appreciate that a lot. It's more interesting not to have to worry about like weird licensing music. And that's one thing I'll say is this movie's very strange without its music that you're used to. I will say that's a weird thing. Going from watching this movie this part of this movie for years with some of the iconic music, and not hearing it is very different. Now, what's really iconic is that every time it shows very strongly that every time that the Digimon like Agumon and his forms are digivolving, like from Botamon the Koromon and Koromon the eventually Agumon, that all the technology around them goes on the fritz, and it's very shows that like every time a Digimon evolves or shows up, all the technology goes haywire. I think that's more, it's very, it's iconic seeing that because it makes a lot more sense versus how things kind of end up working in the, how it works out eventually once they have Digivices. Now, one thing that is also different is that when Koromon is evolving into Koromon here, it's actually at the same time that Tai's father comes home from the bar and he's very drunk. Like, they don't hide in the movie here that he's drunk. Tai's father is completely cut from the movie, and actually instead you just hear in the movie, Tai's mother asking, "Did you kids drop a vase again?" But no, yeah. In the actual movie, it's Tai's mother's trying to keep Tai's father from getting to the kids while he's drunk off his ass. It's a very different thing. Also, Tai's mother in this one is not a health nut. Instead of them making tuna sticks, as they joked about in this part of the movie, they're making curry, which is a completely sane thing to be making as a Japanese family. It's very different than what I'm used to, and I'm all for it. Of course, you have the iconic scene where, Kari climbs on the back of Agumon after he evolves, which is still the size of a bed, like double twin beds. But instead of going, like, Kari talking a lot as we're going across the thing, like telling him to look both ways, Kari's just quiet here and just going along for the ride. It's actually eerily quiet watching these two, like Agumon with Kari on his back, just kind of going around the city. And he does also destroy a soda machine. And, it still doesn't make sense why Kari gets off his back, but it happens. Then we get to the iconic scene where the truck ends up coming through, and, you have the iconic, did you see that? No, I was sleeping. But you were driving! You have that iconic scene. And then that's when Agumon starts attacking. And this is when you really do see the fear in Kari's face here. Like, Kari's terrified. Something I don't know if I noticed as much in the original Digimon movie. It didn't really matter as much back then in the original Digimon movie. But, like, it does seem that, like, Kari is very terrified in the original Digimon movie. And it's very interesting just to see this key difference between the two. Now, of course, Tai's going around the city trying to find his sister. I still have to say Tai's mother and father are pretty bad because, like, they're letting their two kids around the city and they're not, like, chasing after them. And then, of course, the giant Digi-Egg comes from the sky and Parrotmon drops down. And the fight scene starts as we expected. Now, there's a few things I want to say are notably different here. First of all, Parrotmon takes some real damage here. Like, Parrotmon takes a lot of damage when it's being attacked by Agumon and Greymon. And it's very interesting to see this, because throughout most of the series, you don't see actual damage staying consistent on Digimon. they'll usually get bruised up, but they'll normally be fine in no time. Paramon has body parts blown off by Greymon. Another thing that's interesting is all the Digidestin who are watching aren't commenting about Tai being down there. That's one thing that's interesting. Like, I don't understand why the Digimon movie, like the original one from Saban, made it sound like all the Digidestin could look down and see that, oh, that's Tai down there. It doesn't make a lot of sense that they would notice that's Tai down there. And on top of that, it's very strange that, now they have the thing where Joe is calling Mimi, which doesn't make sense at this point in the timeline. Saban really wanted to make Joe and Mimi a thing, and it just, it's not a real thing, and the fact that they tried to force it so heavily in the original Digimon, like the original series and in this movie, didn't make a lot of sense. So this time Joe's just trying to call the cops and report the giant battling monsters, and it's a very Joe thing to do. It makes a lot more sense that Joe would do this. I like it a lot more that Joe's trying to do this because it makes sense for his character. And the rest of the Digimon movie kind of goes as it is. But after the dust clears, and obviously the giant showdown between Greymon and Paramon happen, after Kari's yelling for Koramon, where are you? Instead it goes to Tai yet again, kind of saying like, don't worry, I'm coming to see you soon. Which is iconic because like this movie originally came out before the original Digimon TV series. So like it is an awesome little prequel movie to the original Digimon series. I would say, you could watch this prior to watching it. And it is referenced in the original TV series, this event, which is pretty interesting. An interesting note is, it's explained that an evil Digimon was sent into the world to destroy the Digidestin before they could even get to the digital world. Which is interesting to think about, because there's a visual issue that I have in the second movie coming up. But, Now, before we move on to the second movie, what do I think comparing this to the 2024 re-edit edition compared to the Saban Entertainment one? And my opinion is, it's minimal. I will say I slightly like the Saban Entertainment one just because the music does make things a bit more exciting here. I think there's moments that's nice not to have the theme song in there, but sometimes the part where Paramon and Greymon are fighting, generic fight music's okay, but honestly, the original soundtrack had a really great fight here. And but it is interesting though to see Tai's father existing in this one, while in the originally we had no idea that Tai's father existed overall. I think it's fairly interesting. Sorry, model is going a little haywire. Hello. But no, that's the thing is I really like this, but now I will say I still maybe prefer the original. But that is what it is. Now let's get into part 2. Our War Games is the second part of the Digimon movie, or the second movie that we're actually addressing here for this review. Our War Games is my favorite part in both versions. It's awesome. Omnimon is a great addition to the Digimon series, and I overall just generally like this movie a lot more. Now, let's get into it. This takes place, I think, roughly a year or so after the original Digimon series ends. Everyone is a bit older here and going through their paces, and it's interesting that we do see at the very beginning, during the open credits of this version of the movie, we see that the Digimon Destined are all kind of doing their own thing now. The Digidestined have kind of all separated a bit. Let's talk about where everybody is real quick before we kind of get into the movie. That's something I want to just cover. Joe is trying to take an entrance exam for middle school, and that's something we are clarified here. Everybody is still in elementary school, so they're still pretty young, but they're going into middle school, and Joe is taking his entrance exam, so Joe is out of commission. Mimi is in Hawaii. That is something that's stayed consistent. And then on top of that, Sora is out of the movie basically the whole time, but we do see her throughout the movie. Her and Tai fighting is a big kind of a side plot here, but it's sort of important to the movie. Apparently, at some point, Tai gave her a hairpin, and it started a battle because, and Sora has always been confrontational like this. She's always kind of had a, bit big-headed and kind of want everyone to respect her. And it's interesting to see that she just fights Tai for really what seems like a nothing argument. And then, of course, you have Kari, who during the movie is going to her friend's birthday party. And then you have TK and Matt, who are across the country at their grandparents' in a remote area. That will be important later on. And then, of course, you have Izzy and Tai, who are doing their own thing at the time. But, of course, Izzy's going to come across the major issue that everyone's going to have to deal with. So, another thing we should address before we get too far into talking about this movie is the fact that, yet again, the Digimon theme song and all the soundtrack stuff is gone in this version as well. Just like the last one, it's pretty much a bunch of music that you would expect to be in classic Digimon from the Japanese aspect. The original I know the original OP plays here during the course of the movie instead of like the classic Digimon theme song that we know as from Saban Entertainment. And it's interesting because like it's so weird seeing Digimon evolving and it not having like the iconic Digimon. It's weird not seeing that actually happen in the movie. It very much takes you out. Now, let's talk about the one flaw I kind of brought up at the end of the first part, and it's that this evil Digimon comes to our world hatching out of the same egg that Parrotmon did. And there's an issue. The reason why Parrotmon showed up is nonsensical here. There shouldn't be a reason why that evil Digimon is coming from the same source, because that source should be destroyed and the digital world should be safe. Unless this is a lingering effect of the original evil guys, it makes no sense that this is here. It doesn't really. I'm not going to argue with it because this movie's amazing. It's just very interesting that we actually see, and yes, that's an interesting change. Instead of, no Kari, telling us about Willis did not create this. Willis actually isn't even part of the movie. Now, while there is somebody who TK is talking to in America, it is not Willis. Willis did not make this evil Digi-Egg and is not related to this movie or its plot whatsoever. And I say thank goodness for that. Why Willis' story in the original Digimon movie made a lot of sense. It was kind of accumulated that they shoved all these plots into one movie. It was too much, and they added too lot into it. So let's talk about the differences here between Digimon, this and the actual, the one that the Saban Entertainment one, and the Digimon our War Games, the actual separated movie. And may I say, a lot of stuff that's really added and changed is unique. Now, first of all, instead of this big intro scene where we see everybody getting to their locations, this is actually just the introduction of everyone going to their separated things. It's actually not this big, like, oh, Kari giving us an update and everything, which is a little different and more interesting. Of course, after Kari goes off to her birthday party with her friends is the moment in which, Izzy shows up and says, the egg's about to hatch, and we have that great scene with Tai holding the egg, going, no, not that egg, and we get into the idea that this Digimon is eating a lot of data. And we get it, a lot of the plot points are pretty similar. Evil Digimon gets in codes, fucks up a bunch of stuff, raises prices exponentially on everything. And then, of course, we get to, I think, some of the major differences that start showing its head. First of all, Izzy isn't drinking health foods and everything from Ty's mother. He's just drinking a lot of tea, and that's because he's been running back and forth to it from his house back here a lot of times. He's not an athletic kid. Izzy's never been athletic, and yeah, he's dehydrated and he's really tired. So he's just drinking a lot. And the idea of him drinking too much is an important part of the movie. Because when we get to the climax of the movie, it's all going to come together. And, of course, main plot point is the same. They're playing phone tag, trying to get a hold of everyone. Everyone is obviously busy or going off to do their own things. And there's just a lot of everybody not coming together at the right time. And it sucks. Because, like, you can feel the desperation from, like, Ty and Izzy as they're trying to get... And even to the point that they start getting on each other's nerves. Now, mind you, the whole idea that everybody can see the Digimon and they're fighting and this evil Digimon doing stuff is still the same plot point. And it's important because their emails and texts and support is not only the reason why they can eventually have Omnimon turn into become a thing, but it's also because that's how they stop this evil Digimon in the movie. And that's the thing is, this plot point has a lot of difference. It's pretty similar. Obviously, you know, we have, like, everybody is still in their same spots. You know, eventually they get a hold of Matt and TK. Patamon and Gavumon join Greymon, Agumon, and Tentamon as they try to defeat the evil Digimon. And I will say the big difference here is the tension and the almost fistfight between Ty and Izzy throughout the movie. They're getting on each other's nerves a lot. And a lot of these, you know, the fact that, like, this stuff keeps happening is, you know, driving them insane. And I'm going to say this for a really good point of view is the fact that it's really good. I like the tension here. And then, of course, you know, you have the whole, you know, Omnimon fight scene is pretty similar. I say some smaller stuff is like, you know, small stuff like Kari doesn't have a cell phone. He just keeps calling their landline. And, you know, little moments like, and small little moments like that. And of course, when they have this big battle where before Omnimon shows up, as the big climax is showing up, Izzy has to leave the battle to go take a piss. Because he literally has been drinking so much tea and he's dehydrated. He was so hydrated that, yeah, during the most important battle, they gotta go pee. And yeah, it kind of, that's a plot point. It's a plot point. It's kind of a plot point because, like, Ty gets frustrated because they start losing, and yeah, War of Greymon and Metal Garurumon are screwed up. Like I said, I love the idea in these Digimon movies that we can show damage actually being done to Pokemon with, like, parts of their armor and them being actually hurt showing up. I hate that, like, in the original Digimon series, it's, oh, they get some bruising, but they're fine. No, I need to see some damage on these guys. They are vicious creatures and they're fighting each other. And then, of course, the climax is pretty similar, except for we don't have the iconic, you know, don't have any licensed music. We don't have the Digimon theme song going, you know. And it sucks because, man, that's the thing is. The thing about these movies is the soundtrack is very low. Like it's so much of the soundtrack being missing really tones these things down. Saban Entertainment got a banger of a soundtrack, and these movies without it are very low energy to an extent. While the music that's here is fantastic, it's just not the same. Sad. Now, of course, the interesting thing is they stopped the evil Digimon with seconds of time, and here's the thing is, that scene where Izzy and Ty are looking out the window looking like they're sick, hey, it's not because of the cake or anything. That's because, hey, remember those missiles that were talked about in Digimon the movie that just kind of landed? Those almost detonated less than 100 yards from Ty's house. The evil Digimon's plan was to nuke the original Digidestineds. That's insane. That's insane. Like, screw Willis's story and everything. The idea that like the original Digimon like the original series which like Saban Entertainment one was like, don't interfere. I'm looking for my master. The fact that like this time around it's, hey, I'm trying to get launch codes and blow up the original Digidestin in Japan is insane. Like, I am stunned to see that that's actually what the main plan was. The countdown timer makes so much more sense. So, what's my opinion? R-Ward game, Saban Entertainment, or the brand new ones in 2024? And I'm gonna say, I'm on the fence. I think a big issue is, like I said, Saban Entertainment really put some good music, and it's fitting. One thing is, thank God there's no narration here. I prefer not having a narrator telling me about something I don't really care about in the movie. I actually think it's much better that we don't have to worry about it. And that's the thing is, this movie's entertaining as hell no matter which version you're watching. If I had to say, I think it's kind of a split. I love both versions. Voice acting's dope. I like the extended version of like, and I think I see what they did cut from like the Saban version makes sense. Like Matt and TK going around that town looking for a way to get a computer and everything. Like, it's okay, and I like it. We do not have, like, unfortunately, the moment where, Grandma fell asleep on TK again, but other than that, I would have to say I'm very split. I think just for music variety, if I could minus Kari's narrating, but take the Digimon soundtrack from Saban Entertainment, I would say that'd be my weird pseudo DNA evolution of a product. But we don't have that. And so I'm going to say I'm middle of the ground here. Yeah, so now let's get into our final part. So, Hurricane Touchdown is a very different Digimon movie than its original predecessor. Mind you, Hurricane Touchdown has to cover Willis's backstory and kind of explain to us, the audience, in what originally was Kari explaining in the Saban version, explaining to us the entire time everything that went on with Willis and his original Digimon. And that's very interesting to see how different this takes it. So, yeah, let's get into it. First of all, we have to explain Willis's backstory here. Willis's backstory is that, yeah, he had twin Digimon, and he had them for a little while. Apparently, now, mind you, Willis is the same age of the Gen 2 Digidestins, which is, our brand new Digidestin, such as Davis and everyone. But at the same time, he's also the same age, like TK and Kari, who's also part of the Gen 2 Digidestin. But he got his Digimon roughly around, but he has a Gen 1 Digivice, which is kind of interesting to see. So, that's something I just want to note, because I feel it's important to explain. So, let's get into it. Now, one thing that's interesting here is to get an idea. I don't like how Kokomon gets corrupted here. Now, in the original Digimon, the movie, Saban Entertainment Edition, they explain to us that the evil Digimon who, Tai and Izzy destroyed, Tai, Izzy, Matt, and all them destroyed, escaped the computer and was turned into a swirl of dust that corrupted Kokomon and turned it evil. Here, there's an evil swirl wind. No giant Digi-Egg in the sky hatching. It is just the fact that there's a swirl wind. Kokomon disappears and is now evil and is going around trying to hunt down Willis. Or Willis is trying to hunt him down. I don't think they ever fully clarify here, and I don't like that to an extent. I like more clarification. Of course, he has his partner Digimon in the movie, Terriermon, and that's interesting. I said this before. Terriermon's an interesting choice for Willis to have because it is, in fact, the same Digimon from Digimon Tamers. So it's interesting to see it here and see some of its evolutions earlier on. Now, one thing I have to note, it's important. Did you know the original 7 Digidestin are all here? Yeah, something that was cut. And the reason why it's important that the Gen 2 Digidestin get over to America is not just because, TK and Kari want to help out Willis. It's literally the fact that Kokomon kidnaps all the Gen 1 Digidestin. Yeah, that's something that got cut from Digimon the movie. Saban completely cut out the idea that the original the other Digidestin, the other 6, are kidnapped at the very beginning of this movie. When TK and Kari are literally in America talking to Mimi as they're sending a video to make Davis jealous. And, as they're talking, Mimi feels a cold chill, and then she's kidnapped. And we see all the other Digidestin just slowly, bit by bit, get kidnapped. And, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I can't believe... And the thing is, throughout the movie, you see them being de-aged by Kokomon. Because Kokomon wants to find its original Digidestin and go back where it began. Yeah, it's kind of an important plot point. And the fact that they cut that out of Saban Edition is so baffling. It actually makes the Digidestin coming to America make so much more sense versus just them not showing, them showing up for no good reason. It's interesting and it's crazy. It's such a big difference. And of course, we need to clarify. I think this movie has to take place early on, and obviously, all the Digidestin have to have all the Digi armors at this point. But obviously, it doesn't have to be the. Of course, we have to say the Digi Emperor is still going. They haven't stopped that yet, and all the towers are still up because Vmon isn't digivolving into Vidramon and all that. So obviously we're pretty early on and we're still dealing with Digi Armors. Don't get me wrong, I love Digi Armors. I think they're great, but they're not good. They're not what you need. And that's the thing is, of course you see them, and this is where this movie drags. We spend a lot of time watching characters travel. And some of the conversations that happen are interesting. Terriermon and Willis fighting because Willis was mad that Terriermon attacked Kokomon is an interesting thing. Like Willis is actually angry at Terriermon because he attacked his brother. And Terriermon's like, I'm your Digimon. I'm supposed to protect you, and you were going to get hurt. And I like this. I like this change. I like a small change I like, but we watch too much travel. Also, the iconic scene with TK and Kari when Kokomon shows up. Hey, also, Kokomon kidnapped an entire train worth of people. How did we cut that out? Why did we cut that out? Hey, Digimon? Hey, I love that you want to make it kid-friendly. You cut the fact that this Digimon stole an entire train worth of people. That's crazy. And of course, we watched the Gen 2 Digidestin travel from America to Japan and all the crazy stuff they have to do to get there. And yeah, it's fun, but it's kind of like, come on, get on with it. We need to get there. And they eventually do run into Willis by pure circumstance. Willis here is creepier. He's much creepier as a character. He almost refuses the fact that Kokomon is evil. And he doesn't understand. Kokomon is trying to harm him. he wants him to go back, but too many times he almost is willing to harm Willis. That's why when, he's Terriermon digivolves for the first time and fights Kokomon on the same champion level, it's awesome to see. And, just seeing Flamedramon digivolve, in this art style, it's really good. I'm still going to say I still miss the theme song. Also, I loved how quickly the Digi-evolutions go here. The idea that Terriermon is just brought up into a sphere and then is automatically turned into, his evolution is really awesome. Of course, one iconic scene that's changed where, Davis cries for no good reason in Digimon the movie with Walt Willis. It actually makes a lot more sense here why he is crying. Because Davis realized how sad it is, the idea of having to destroy your partner Digimon you have to. If Vmon got corrupted, he doesn't think that he'd be able to destroy Vmon. And honestly, I think that's really interesting. Willis crying here actually makes a lot of sense. And actually, Willis is on... Davis. Davis is 100% willing to let Willis confront Kokomon and to not attack. When they get to the flower field finally, that's exactly what they let happen. And of course, the battle scene is very much the same, but also is very much dragged on. There is a lot more fighting. And of course, Kokomon eventually evolves into its ultimate form. I always forget, I never knew what this thing was called, but seeing it fighting and completely decimating the Digi-Armors is very interesting. Now, Digi-Armors, as I always have imagined, are more champion level evolutions, because obviously they have to have champion levels because, well, they can't normally Digivolve, so it kind of makes sense. Of course, they fight, and that's when Kokomon starts de-aging everybody. And it's interesting that the only Digimon who don't fully downgrade is Vmon and Terriermon. I guess it's because they are more willing to try to fight Kokomon to save the kids. And yeah, it's very interesting. Also, Hawkmon gets really hurt here. And that's another... it's very interesting to see Yuki trying to hold her down and get bandaged up and everything. And of course, TK and Kari show up with Angemon and Angemon, and they have them warp Digivolve. That scene's the same. Digi-Armor happens, but actually, they're fairly ineffective once they eventually Golden Armor energize into the arm, and they have to attack. They actually are kind of kept, things go really bad for a while. Now, before this all started, I need to clarify. Kokomon, at the very beginning, almost won. Because Will says he's willing to go with Terriermon. But the thing is, Kokomon is still corrupted and evil. And even though he agreed to stay and Kokomon was happy, he still tried to attack and hurt Willis, which is interesting. Eventually, the Davis and Willis are able to get through to Vmon and Terriermon, and they are able to destroy Kokomon from the inside and destroy the evil virus from within. Now, the rest of the movie kind of goes as you expected, and that's the key. It's very interesting. All the Digi-Destined are freed. I guess all the people on the train just ended up where they were. And that's yet again another thing, is it's very interesting just to see how this movie has none of these soundtracks. Songs like Hey Digimon and all that are are kind of amazing parts of this movie. We're Going Digital. All these movie soundtrack songs are iconic. And even not hearing the Digimon theme song until the end credits of the third movie is kind of insane. And that's the thing is. So, what do I think about Digimon the Movie 2? Or the Hurricane Touchdown. Let's put it like this. This movie feels too long. This is the one where I can tell they cut a lot of stuff, and Willis's backstory being kind of put in between the other Digimon movies and the Saban version makes a lot of sense. So, before we end this movie, let's kind of give up my final wrap down of all these stuff. So, let's get to it. What is my opinion of this collection of movies, their dubbing, and everything in between? I think that this Blu-ray here is a fantastic purchase for any Digimon fan who grew up with the original Digimon movie and wants to see what these original movies look like. Do I think these 3 original movies are well worth it to have as separate projects? I'm 50-50. I think it's interesting to see what was cut and what was Americanized for the original release of Digimon the movie. But at the same time, I kind of dig Digimon the movie from Saban. Fox Kids made a fantastic movie. And the soundtrack combined with the 3 Digimon movies moved into one project with an interconnected story kind of is more interesting. And that's the problem. It's so hard to disconnect these 3 movies in my head from what I grew up on. It's hard not to watch these 3 movies and not question these movies at the same time. I grew up for years with this original movie, and it's interesting to see these 3 things separated. And I kind of like the original. Now, don't get me wrong. It's great to see the original Digidestin return and reprising their voices. But I gotta say, I kind of dig the original a little bit more. So guys, this is my review of Digimon the movies. And I gotta ask, what do you guys think? Have you seen this collection? And if not, hey, it's not bad. $25 for the Blu-ray. Maybe get on a nice little Amazon sale at some point. But, hey guys, my name is Yuki the Geekimist. Hit like and subscribe. And if you want to see more Digimon content down the line, let me know. My buddy seems like he wants me to cover Digimon Tamers. So maybe I'll cover Digimon Tamers, the darkest Digimon series to date. Well, guys, geek out.